Republicans are drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, almost literally. On Wednesday, Politico published an article in which John Podesta, Bill Clinton's former chief of staff and current new advisor to President Obama, said that Republicans are, quote, a cult worthy of Jonestown in charge of one of the houses of Congress, end quote. Those comments caused outrage with Republicans in Washington, and in the interest of political correctness and civility, Podesta apologized to Speaker of the House John Boehner. But apology aside, Podesta was right. The Republican Party is a cult worthy of Jim Jones. And to take it from the funny to the serious, and this really is serious, all across America, the Republican Party is actually killing off its followers in ways different than Jim Jones did, but really, people are dying. For reasons that typically have to do with God, gays, or guns, low-income people across America frequently vote Republican, thus becoming Republican cult followers. And then, just like the followers of Jonestown, they let their leaders in the Republican Party pass out policy Kool-Aid that actually kills people. And it's killing some of them, some of these Republican cult followers. For example, right now in 23 states, led by mostly Republican lawmakers, these 23 states are refusing to expand Medicaid under Obamacare, even though it's free money for the first 3 years, 90% forever after. As a result of this, literally millions of low-income Americans in these states won't have access to life-saving health care or medication. It's going to cause deaths. Those millions of Americans include the followers of the GOP. I mean, these are red states, right? Include the followers of the Republican Party who helped give the Republicans control of the House of Representatives. Meanwhile, as Republicans are taking away health care from their followers, they're also taking away their food. Last month, thanks to Republican opposition, Congress failed to extend food stamp benefits to more than 47 million Americans. Again, most of the poverty in America in the red states, in the Republican states. For a family of 4 receiving food stamp benefits, it means 21 fewer meals a month. 2.3 million children in California and Texas alone have lost access to food because of Republican-backed cuts. So the Republican Party is killing off its followers by denying them health care and food. But it doesn't stop there. For followers of the Republican Party who are lucky enough to still have access to food, that food might be contaminated, very often is contaminated, with diseases, with parasites, or less savory things, you know, chemicals and stuff. Because Republicans don't want us to know where our food comes from or what's in it. They oppose GMO labeling, they oppose country of origin labeling, all of which would, you know, help us figure out what food is safe and what isn't. And since Republicans hate regulations, they've cut funding to the food inspection programs that keep us safe from contaminated and sometimes deadly. I mean, literally, thousands of people a year in America die from eating contaminated foods. Republicans are cutting the inspections. Take shrimp, for instance. 85% of the shrimp that Americans consume is imported. Much of it is never inspected. As Joel Richardson points out over at Alternet, that means that shrimp is making it into the marketplace that is all too often riddled with salmonella, covered with antibiotics or pesticides, or contaminated with neurotoxins. Not that much different from Jim Jones' cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, is it? For Republicans, yummy? Really? Republicans are also killing off their followers by taking away their homes and jobs and condemning them thus to lives of poverty and despair. They support corporations that lay off millions of American workers every year and then ship their jobs overseas to the lowest bidder. And when those millions of Americans get laid off, Republicans refuse to help them survive. Yesterday, the Senate passed the bipartisan budget deal, but noticeably missing from the deal was the extension of unemployment benefits for 1.3 million Americans, benefits that are set to expire at the end of the month. Unemployment benefits were left out of the deal because Republicans think unemployment insurance makes Americans dependent and causes them to stop looking for work.
I do support unemployment benefits for the 26 weeks that they're paid for. If you extend it beyond that, you do a disservice to these workers. There was a study that came out a few months ago, and it said if you have a worker that's been unemployed for 4 weeks and on unemployment insurance and one that's on 99 weeks, which would you hire? Every employer, nearly 100%, said they will always hire the person who's been out of work 4 weeks.
Republicans think that Americans will magically find jobs if they aren't receiving unemployment insurance. But what really will happen when 1.3 million Americans lose their job, lose their unemployment insurance, right after Christmas, is that those Americans are going to fall deeper and deeper into poverty, unable to afford the most basic things needed to survive, like food and shelter. For those followers of the Republican Party who are lucky enough not to lose their health care, their homes, their food, and their jobs, they may still be likely killed by the party's refusal to combat climate change. Despite overwhelming evidence that climate change is very real, man-made, and that it could be devastating for the human race, and over the short term it is killing people, Republicans continue to argue that climate change is just a big hoax spread around by crazy liberal scientists. Republicans are content to let their followers die in climate change-fueled massive superstorms and epic wildfires. Finally, Republicans are killing off their followers by sending them off to fight unnecessary and illegal wars.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign.
As of last month, there have been 4,489 American military deaths just in Iraq since George W. Bush and his war hawk cronies lied America into a war in March of 2003. While calling an entire political party a cult may not have been the best move politically, John Podesta's comments in Politico were entirely accurate. From taking away health care and food to failing to fight climate change or give unemployed Americans assistance, Republicans are effectively killing off the very people who have helped put them in positions of power. If that doesn't scream cult, I don't know what does.